On this episode of Tested Muscle, we have one of my favorite cars of all time, the Pontiac Trans Am. And this isn't just any Pontiac Trans Am. It's a 1978 model with the W72 and the WS6 performance package, and we're bringing it to you today, right here on Tested Muscle. Every now and then, I get the privilege of jumping behind the wheel of a car that I feel right at home in. And that's what's happening today. You see, on this episode of Tested Muscle, I'm sitting behind the wheel of a 1978 Pontiac Trans Am WS6 car with the W72 performance package.
My name's Gary Plowman, and I'm the caretaker of this 1978 Trans Am WS6 W72 Pontiac. Historically speaking, the 78 Trans Am was my toy during that period of time. You couldn't buy anything that has any power. The public reaction to this 78 Trans Am is a head turner. Not only when it's going down the road, but when it's sitting, or when people are out on the street and I get on that thing, it just turns them heads. You don't see that today.
If you guys have followed me over the years, you know I'm a Trans Am fan. In fact, I absolutely adore these cars. I'm an F-body guy. I've had a 70 Camaro, I've had a 79 Trans Am, I've had an 81 turbo car. I not only love the shapes of these cars, but I love the way that they drive and the way that they handle. I've got two favorites, right? One of my favorites is an 81 turbo car. I'll be honest with you, it's not really that fast, but my God, does it look outstanding. The other, the early 70s cars, 71, 72, not necessarily the Trans Am, but the bullnose cars, I think, are some of the most spectacular ones ever designed. You know, then you came to kind of like the mid 70s, right? You got 74, 75, 76. The front ends were okay, but not my favorite. And then we got to this 77, 78 with this front end made famous by Smokey and the Bandit. And this car is a stunner. Now, Trans Ams are one of those cars that they are just universally loved. Like, it doesn't matter where you go, in what part of the world. It is an American icon. It's like baseball. It's like apple pie, and then you've got a Trans Am. Now, most people think of a Trans Am, they do think of Smokey and the Bandit, right? They think of black, they think of gold, chicken on the hood, and, you know, and that's their point of reference. And that's okay, because that movie was basically a 2-hour commercial for Pontiac, and it helped them sell 9 billion cars when the movie came out. Now this is a 78, low mileage car, 21,558 miles. That's pretty low mileage, okay? It is it's the one you want for 78, right? So again, I'm gonna just run through it. 78 WS6 W72 performance package, which means a 400 under the hood, and more importantly, we've got this right here. We have a 4-speed manual. And when I tell you the manual wakes this car up, it transforms it. It really, absolutely transforms it. Whomever ordered this car knew exactly what they're doing. Give me the WS6 for handling. Now on this car, that meant disc brakes up front, drums out back with 15x8 snowflakes. Now the snowflakes, one of the most iconic wheels ever. A stock tire size on those was like a 225/70. This has been upgraded to a 235, which is totally good. Engine-wise, the 400, 220, 320, 220 horsepower, 320 pound-feet of torque. When you jump on this thing, so if I roll down to a stop, okay, this car stops really well. And let's just say I want to launch it, not super hard, but hard enough, right? Okay, take it off, okay? Let it run. Like this car, this is not a slow car, folks. So now most of us know that Pontiac underrated most of their engines. They all did. The ass dyno, the butt dyno right now is not saying 220. It's saying more like 300. And the torque is probably around 340 to 350. That's what the tush says. Again, performance, drop it down, hit the gas. No stumbles. This thing will pull all the way up to $5,000. You know, believe it or not, fuel economy with the manual isn't bad. We've been driving this thing for quite a long time, and I don't know. I'm gonna throw out that we're probably getting 14 to 16 miles to the gallon, which I think is pretty good. So out back, you've got your proven 10 volt with a 342 rear gear, and it makes a big difference, you know? I mean, right now we're in, you know, third gear. You know, if I run it up, drop it down in the fourth, the car just kind of floats along. The WS6 package was actually really nice, and you know, you talk about front discs in the front, rear drums, but this package literally, it works just fine. You know, there's nothing here that you're like, oh my God, I must have discs in the back. This package works great. The other part, bigger sway bar up front, bigger bar out back. From a steering perspective, I love these boxes. The WS6 box, you see this? I'm moving the car. The car is actually turning. Plus, it's tiny. This is a very, very small steering wheel. So any input that you have affects what the car is going to do on the road. And I mean, I know that sounds a little campy because yes, that's the purpose of the steering wheel, but it's more so with this WS6 box. They're fun to drive. They are literally all day comfortable. I know this because I bought one in Dallas, Texas, and I drove it all the way back to San Francisco, California. So I made it during COVID-19 down in Dallas, Texas, and here's what I bought. So it's about 100 degrees out. It's supposed to thunderstorm the entire way back, which I don't care because you know why? Cars are about having adventures. It's just a very pleasant car to drive. And I think that's a testament to why Pontiac sold so many of them. Now, there are some inherent flaws in every F-body that you buy. Let's talk about the doors. If you're looking for an F-body, you're looking for a Camaro or a Trans Am, always open the doors. Because the pins in the doors right now, a lot of times they drop, they sag. And that's just common amongst every single F-body in the world. Also, these cars are very susceptible to rust depending on what side of the country you're on, right? In California, we always say that cars rust from the top down. If you're in the Midwest or the East Coast, cars rust from the bottom up. So you really need to check that stuff out. Styling. Let's talk about that big meatball for a minute, okay? You know, the styling of these cars, it's 1970s. It's late 1970s. We have the Screaming Chicken on the hood. I know people are going to be like, Mike, it's not called a Screaming Chicken. I don't really care. It is, as far as I'm concerned, and every other human being on the planet. You have Trans Am on the back, two small, actually raised monikers on the back pillars, and it's really not overbearing like the later cars. This particular car is Mayan red, and it is a beautiful, beautiful package. So other exterior cues that are just so unique, right? We talk about those iconic 15x8 snowflakes, and they really are. It's one of the most beautiful wheels ever designed. If you move towards the back of the car, you've got those, again, iconic kind of split tip exhausts, right? The shaker, there's not a person in the world that doesn't love a shaker. And as soon as you turn this thing on, the whole thing's just shake, 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 shake. And I absolutely love it. Now let's talk about the interior, right? Because the interior of these cars is one of my favorite interiors on any car. The dashboard, that has to be addressed. It's a sticker, but it's like this turned stainless or this turned aluminum on the dash, and it's fantastic looking. The gauge cluster it's just right. I have a big tack, I've got a massive speedometer, two ancillaries for my fuel and my amperage, oil, water, directly where I could see them. They're not hidden off to the side. It's a very driver-centric layout. Now, also, if you look at the dash, there's a little spot down here next to the cigarette lighter, which, by the way, I'm gonna pull this out. See that? Still has a cigarette on. Everybody smoked in the 70s. And the manufacturers knew it. Now, I'm not condoning smoking, but it's one of my favorite things, not to smoke, just a little picture on the lighter itself. I just think it was a really cool design feature. This is a non-power window car, standard cranky, right? Roll them up, roll them down. One less thing that's gonna go wrong, one less thing to break. Now, do you have HVAC? Yeah, of course you do. I mean, it's right here. You've got your heater controls, your defrost and whatnot. It does have a working fan, blow some air out, it's fine. Especially on the later cars, if you put the AC on, it felt like you robbed the car of 50% of the horsepower that it had. So I like the way that this car is laid out. So I want to touch on usability one more time, and the reason for that is this is not what I would call a family car. Yes, it has back seats. They're very small. If you're sitting back there, you're either very short or you are a child. Trunk space, pretty much the same. You do not have a lot of trunk space. So this car does actually have an original or a close to original space saver spare. So again, your cargo space kind of vanishes. If you were single, this would be a great car for somebody. Family person, not so much. If you are looking for a Trans Am or any one of your, your personal dream cars, obviously go to Hemmings.com, right? We've got 25 to 30,000 cars online at any given time. We have our auction pages, we have our make offer pages. What I'm basically trying to say is I can pretty much guarantee we have your dream car, so go check it out. I promise you'll find what you're looking for. One final thing on this Trans Am. This is a driver. It's not a perfect car. Doesn't have perfect paint. Yes, it's low mileage, but again, still a driver. If you are lucky enough to obtain your dream car, drive the damn thing. Put miles on the damn thing. Experience, make memories with the car. I've said this once, I'll say it 1,000 times. There is no point in owning your dream car if you don't live the dream. The only thing then you're doing is you're saving it for the next owner, and like, why would you do that? Gary, he drives the hell out of this car.
Driving this car is a barrel of fun. Got the 4-speed. I like to lay a patch once in a while. I like to scare people once in a while when they ride with me. It's all part of this, the whole thing. I drive this car because it's not a museum piece. It's not. It's a driving car. I've had museum pieces, and all they do is set in the museum for people get an idea. That's how they come to the factory. But once they come out of the factory, these people at my age, they drove them, and they got on them. They squealed the tires. They drag stripped them. They worked on them.
I don't know, man. Like I said, dream car, live the dream, drive it, enjoy. If this video does anything, hopefully it'll encourage you to pull it out of the damn garage and put smiles on the car.
Tested Muscle is presented by American Collectors Insurance.
American Collectors Insurance has been a leader in protecting the collector car hobby from on-road mishaps and unforeseen circumstances for over 40 years. So, head on over to AmericanCollectors.com to get a policy that's right for you now.
We hope you guys enjoyed this 78 Trans Am as much as we did. And we have to give a big shout out to the Gilmore Auto Museum in Hickory Corners, Michigan, for providing us with this amazing backdrop. We still have a bunch more cars to come that I promise you're gonna love. We thank you again for tuning in to Tested Muscle.